Hello my friends, I'm Kayla and these are my most anticipated reads of 2026. I'm putting them in order today from how likely I think I am to read them to least likely. But you are gonna hear the 50, I think, brand new releases that this is my priority for the year. And I've organized them in groups of 10. So 10 from authors I've read before, 10 from authors that I haven't read who I am most intrigued by the synopsis, 10 more authors that I've read from before, 10 authors that I haven't, 10 authors that I've read from before. You didn't need that whole explanation, but here we are. The first 10, of course, are going to be a lot of sequels and authors that I absolutely love. There's no way I don't read these 10 books. Through Gates of Garnet is the 11th book in the Wayward Children series by Seanan McGuire. I know we're revisiting Nancy in this book. That's pretty much all I know. I read the sequel every year. I love the sequel every year. Then A Long and Speaking Silence, which is the 7th book in the Singing Hills cycle. All I know about this is it's a refugee story. I think this is probably my least favorite of all the covers so far, but I'll take it. I love following Chi, writing down all of the stories. Then the 3rd book in the Throne of Nightmare series by Carrie Maniscalco. This one's about Prince Sloth and his enchanted library, and he must find the Book of Nightmares before the Goddess of Night unleashes a deadly game, or there's a deadly game that will unleash her. Anyway, it's about smart people reading books. I gave the first book a 4, I gave the second book a 3, but there's just something about this world that I eat up. The 10th book in the Veronica Speedwell series is coming out. This is going to be the first time ever that I am reading a Veronica Speedwell in not only the year it comes out, but the month it comes out. I'm about to be caught up. And I'm so excited to finally read Ghastly Catastrophe, when everyone else who's been reading the series for a decade is reading it. Moving on from series, I have a bunch of standalones that I will absolutely get to. The Ending Writes Itself. This is by Kat Clark and V.E. Schwab. V.E. Schwab, who I've read from a ton. This is about 6 authors who are invited to a private island to compete for who will finish writing a book after the super famous author has died. And I'm sure they're going to solve a mystery. Maybe one of them will die. I'm very intrigued to see what V.E. Schwab is doing in mysteries. The Library After Dark. I read an Andy Pliego last year that was really intriguing. And this time she's writing a bookseller who must escape from an infamously haunted library. And there's a murderer in her tour group at the same time. I love the cover. I think this is beautiful. There's a UK edition that I think is a crime. Dead But Dreaming of Electric Sheep, of course, is in my top 10. This is by one of my favorite authors, Paul Tremblay. There's a man who has AI implanted into his head, and there's a woman who's hired to chaperone him across the country. While he's in this vegetative state, he's locked in a morphing reality, and he must collect clues to figure out who he is. It's horror, sci-fi, sounds so good. And then Exit Party, Emily St. John Mandel is one of my favorite authors. I read a book from her the second it comes out every single time. And the only little blurb we got so far is it's a mind-bending story of crimes committed and love lost across space and time. I'm gonna love it. Next, Make Me Better by Sarah Gailey. This is about a secluded community known for healing and transformation, and a woman who goes there, and obviously it's horror, so she's not going to get everything that she expects. It sounds a little culty, but I love Sarah Gailey. And then The Unknown by Riley Sager. So in the 1920s, there's this island in Vermont where 5 people went missing. There are rumors that they're haunting the place. I think there's something to do with witches. And then current day, I think there's this group of actors who go to the island on a research trip, and the disappearances begin happening again. So those are my top 10 guaranteed reads of 2026. If I read nothing else, if my whole life imploded and there was only 10 books that I read in the year, that would be them. Then I have 10 books that I'm just really intrigued by the synopsis. I have no idea if I will like these because I've never read from these authors. A lot of these are probably debuts. For Human Use by Sarah G. Pierce, this is about a dating app that matchmakes people with dead bodies. There's 3 people we're following: an owner of the app, an investor, and a former love interest of one of the 2. People start killing each other, so there's more cadavers available, I think. Why people would want to be hooked up with a cadaver instead of a human is just a very interesting concept. How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates. This is by Shaylee Thompson. It's a horror romance. I feel like I want to be in my horror romance era, so I'm gonna pick any up that come across my desk. It's about a woman who's caught in a mall during a murder spree, and she must use her film knowledge, final girl horror experience to survive. I know a lot of people have probably read George Saunders before. I have not, but Vigil sounds very intriguing, especially because it's a novella. This says it's about an oil company CEO who's ferried from this world to the next. And we're following a woman who is responsible for ushering him, his soul, into the afterlife. And it's about corporate greed, capitalism, good and evil. It sounds very interesting. Monster in the Archives is, I think, my only nonfiction on my like guaranteed list. It's by Carolyn Bix. I can't read my own writing. It's part memoir, part investigation into our deepest anxieties, part Stephen King biography, of course, and part literary masterclass. She's a scholar, and she is the first person like ever granted these exclusive interviews and access to Stephen King's private archives. And I'm just very intrigued to see what this turns out to be. Yesteryear, I'm very intrigued by Carol Claire Burke. It's about a trad wife influencer. She's transported into the past and like a horrible version of reality where she has to really participate in a lot of things that maybe she put on a front that she was doing on social media. I think it sounds interesting. Obviously, I think these all sound interesting, or they wouldn't be on my list. Every Version of You by Natalie Messier is about a lawyer whose personal and love life is a disaster. She has the opportunity to go back to college with all of her memories intact. She has to figure out, like, should she admit feelings to the person, the one who got away, or is she gonna end up falling for a person she never saw coming? That's just totally my kind of vibe. Then I have a very different tone. You Should Have Been Nicer to My Mom by Vincent Torrado. This is about the father of a family who dies, and upon his death, he informs his family that one of them is a demon. And then they're all kind of trapped in this house, and they have to confront each other, and all of their secrets are revealed. It's horror, thriller. Oil on Canvas by Caitlin Barron, I'm really excited about. It's her adult debut, and she's like finding out the truth about her abusive mother and a terrifying set of paintings. She's a journalist. That's all I know about that one. This one, Teddy Bears Never Die. This is by Cho Yoon. It's a horror romance, again set in Korea, where a woman who lost her family to a mass poisoning attack wants justice. Meanwhile, across town, a young man wakes up in a teddy bear, like wakes up as a teddy bear. Like someone has stolen his body and now he's a teddy bear, and they have to join forces. I can't wait. Okay, and then the last most intriguing one for me from authors that I've never read from before is Leave and Come Back by Lavanya Lakshmi. It's said to be a comedy of errors where a young woman's new boyfriend accidentally joins their 2-week-long family wedding, and they have to kind of pretend they don't know each other in order to get into the good graces of her family. And then I'm sure like there's just a whole bunch of things that are revealed, and it sounds really fun. So those are the 10 books that are giving me life for 2026. They're giving me the will to go on and continue reading new releases from authors I've never read. Now back to 10 books that I definitely want to read from authors that I've had experience with before. So The Starter X by Mia Sosa, absolutely on my list. I'm trying to figure out if she's a one-hit wonder because I've given her a 5-star. Like one of my favorite romances ever was written by Mia Sosa, and then I've hated 2 of her other books. So this might be my last time with her, but it sounds right up my alley. It's a fake dating story. She has this business where she will date someone you have a crush on and like sabotage the date so it goes really poorly to leave him like running into your arms. And then we have this guy who needs to go on a terrible fake date with somebody to get his mom off his back about marriage. And so they're gonna team up but obviously fall in love. Like, I think it sounds perfect. If it's the rom-com that I am dreaming of, it's gonna be my new favorite thing. Japanese Gothic by Kylie Lee Baker is a horror book. It's woven with Japanese mythology. We have a female samurai in exile in 1877, and then we're also following someone current day, a college student who just killed his roommate, and I think she comes into his timeline. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm intrigued. Molka by Monica Kim. There's a relationship between a man and a woman who are caught together on this spy camera. He's humiliated and flees, and she's left to pick up the pieces, and she wants revenge on like all of the people in her life who've wronged her, including the person who was filming them. The Caretaker by Marcus Klewer. It's about this woman who takes this job caretaking for this house. She's only supposed to be there for 3 days. She applies for the job, and there's an incomprehensible evil dwelling. That's kind of all we know. It sounds like it's going to be the exact same vibe as his first book, but I'm sure it's not, and I want to read it. Then continuing with horror, I don't know anything about this one, but it's called Kiss Slay Replay by Rachel Harrison. There's a wedding in it, there's death in it, and there's a time loop. 3 of my favorite things in books, and I'm back on the Rachel Harrison bandwagon, so I'm very excited to see if this is going to be for me. We Dance Upon Demons by Vaishnavi Patel. This is about a reproductive health worker who gains powers from this statue at a museum and now must face threats both otherworldly and distinctly human. I'm going to reluctantly put Inkpot Gods on here by Shannon McGuire. I feel like Middle Game was my perfect book, and as the series has continued, I've just been lukewarm about the entire thing, but I can't imagine myself finishing out the year not picking that up. Another sequel I'm pretty sure I'll read. Like, I could imagine putting this one off. Actually, I don't even know when it comes out until closer to the end of the year. The Tapestry of Fate by Shannon Chakraborty. This is the second book in the Amina Al-Sarafi series, where we have a retired-ish pirate getting back into her old life, and I think it's going to be fun. I really don't like the cover, and it makes me sad. Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. After reading Emily Wilde, you'd think, oh, naturally, I just should pick up every single thing from this author. But I feel like when I love a series from an author, I actually like to just stick with that thing and not expand. But I have convinced myself that I should read this. It's a fantasy romance where a woman runs a cat rescue, and she turns to a grouchy but charming wizard to help save the shelter. That just sounds cute. And lastly, for this group of 10 authors that I read from before, Fabulous Bodies by Chuck Tingle. This says it's Drive meets Beetlejuice, in which a fashion influencer robs graves, and she digs up a queer rock star icon, and then he comes back to life. So that sounds really fun. Back to 10 more authors that I know nothing about, and I've just been convinced based on mostly covers. This is like a really cover section. Trope Sick by Lauren, oh no, this one's not the cover. I actually don't like this cover. Lauren Oakey, this is about childhood friends who reunite to ghostwrite a love story for a reclusive author. They discover all the classic romance tropes, and they realize it's playing out in real life between the two of them. This one is the cover, Yes Chef by Grace Riley. The concept does sound interesting too. It's about a social media maven determined to save her favorite restaurant, and within the book, he's going to teach her how to cook. Like, that just sounds cute. This one, I love the cover, The Sea Hides Its Dead by Megan Bottriger. It's an aquatic horror following a group of academics trapped in a sea cave who must atone for their greatest sins. That sounds very good. Honey by Amani Thompson. I'm obsessed with this cover. It's about a PhD student who starts killing bad men. And that's pretty much it. The first one, I don't know if it's her. The synopsis makes it a little unclear. He dies because he's allergic to bees, and somehow a bee ended up in his water bottle. I don't know if she witnesses that, and that makes her think, oh, I could start killing people really easily, or if she did it and she's like, oh, look how easy it is to kill people. Sublimation by Isabel J. Kim is set in this reality where immigration causes you to split into 2 different versions of yourself. And we have a main character whose grandfather dies, and her clone, or instance it's called in here, encourages her to come back to Korea, but with a far more sinister reason than our main character realizes. On Sunday, She Picks Flowers by Yaya Schofield is on my list. It's a Southern Gothic about a woman who flees an abusive home. She finds shelter in a haunted house, soothing its ghosts and haunts. That sounds intriguing. The Geomagician is a little bit questionable because, well, I think a pterodactyl is not technically a dinosaur, so maybe it's not actually a dinosaur book. I was thinking I don't really like dinosaur books. This is by Jennifer Mandula. It's a Victorian romantasy, which I've been getting so into, and this, following an academic, a fossil hunter, sounds like something that I definitely love. She finds a baby pterodactyl, and it could change her career because women are kept out of the Geomagician Society, where magic can be wielded with fossils. And the people who run the society, including this man who she used to have a thing with, and she's obviously gonna have a thing with this time, is trying to take the pterodactyl from her. And then The Secret World of Briar Rose is stunning by Cindy Pham. This is a Sleeping Beauty inspired queer fantasy romance. The kingdom's heir has been asleep for 100 years, and we have 2 sisters searching for her, like one searching for the other, who goes into this realm I definitely want to read that. And then The Open Era by Edward Schmidt. This is a sports romance during the pressure of participating in the US Open. There's flirty banter between two male tennis players who are also rivals and have to compete against each other. That sounds very fun. Then I have Destination Funeral by Paige Harbison. Four friends attend a funeral of the matriarch of their teenage summers. When they arrive to the funeral and the week that they're supposed to spend there, suddenly they're stuck in a time loop and truths from 10 years ago come to light. That just sounds totally up my alley. Okay, and then my final 10 that I'm pretty sure I will end up reading is more authors that I've read from before. These concepts sound a little more questionable, like they're not at the top of my list, but I'll probably get to them unless a good amount of people read it before me and they convince me not to. I feel like these are the ones I could be convinced not to pick up the easiest, but they're still in my TBR. Headlights by CJ Lead. I know that CJ Lead's covers are like weird and unique, but this one I think I hate, but that's okay. We're following a FBI agent investigating a phenomenon where people wake at the side of the highway with no memory and a hair tied around their tongue. That's what's happening here. There's like a string and then it uncovers his own past or something. The Dorians by Nick Cutter I think is questionable just because I've hated Nick Cutter's stories, but I have read one that was really good. And the concept of this is so interesting. 5 elderly volunteers are offered to reverse their age by what sounds like a parasite. It's an ancient biological agent. It eclipses all bounds of morality and sanity. Like, I don't even understand what we're talking about, but it sounds fascinating. Meet Me in the Garden by Nina LaCour. I think this is going to be a really heavy hitter. And I don't always want to read, the slow kind of historical sad stories, but I think it's also going to be really powerful. So this is a family saga in the 1940s. We have a woman, her sisters really fit the family expectations while she is in love with a woman. We also follow her 5 years later when she's a widowed mother. So we have to see what has happened to her, how'd she get in this situation. She's trying to build back a relationship with her cousin who's also having struggles. Then I have Romantic Hero by Kirsty Greenwood. This could be the situation where I love one romance from an author and then I shouldn't read anymore because I should just leave that one thing as being perfect. I don't know if it's the author or it's the concept. It's hard to know. And in this one, it's one of those concepts that I love the idea of, but I very rarely like the follow through of a story where a character from a book comes into reality. But I do want to give it a go. So our main character is a novelist. She writes this fictional cowboy character. He comes to life. She needs to get out of her writer's block to end up writing him back into the book. And he's going to help her make her ex jealous. So he wants to get back together. But obviously she's going to fall in love with the cowboy, I think. I've got a Hannah Witten, which doesn't seem very informed because I haven't loved things from her before, but this is a proper horror book that I want to try out. It's following a woman who visits her dead fiance's home and gets sucked into the family secrets. I don't really know what we're talking about, but I like to go into those types of concepts not knowing a lot. Stranger Things Have Happened by Casey West. I just read her adult debut. I gave it 4 stars, and I feel like she could be a favorite romance author of adult stuff because I've loved her YA stuff years ago. And this is a fake dating one, so I think it's promising. And it's part of a therapist matchmaking situation. Then Seasons of Glass and Iron by Amal El Motar. This is just a short story collection. It's speculative. Everyone in This Bank is a Thief by Benjamin Stevenson is another Ernest Cunningham, crime solving thing. This time he's one of 10 hostages in a bank, but everyone is also a suspect. So he gets to solve it. It's pretty fun. I don't know if I should continue in the series, but I probably will. And then The Midnight Train, I also don't know if I should end up picking up. This is in the same world as The Midnight Library. In here by Matt Haig, the train lets you relive moments of your life. We're following Wilbur, who gave up the love of his life and gets to see how his life would have been different. And then my last one is The Big Bad Book of Kaiju, which is 25 original tales of city-smashing monsters. And I think that sounds really fun. So those are the 50 books that I want to read most in 2026. I feel like that is totally reasonable. I read new releases an equal amount as backlist stuff. So I feel like my list is reasonable. I feel like I have a good amount of things that I for sure will read. I definitely have probably 20 to 30 to 40 more books that I'll just, pop up on the screen in case you're like, what about this book? I thought this book was on your TBR. Yes, I do also want to read these ones, but I can't sit here and list 50 more. I mean, I could, but I won't because we have to keep it moving with the 12 days of BooksandLala. And maybe I will see you at the end of the year looking back at this and showing myself reacting to see if I actually read these, because I feel like I will. Let me know if there's anything you think that I am missing here that I absolutely have to get to that's on your radar, or even just something that you're excited to read. I would love to know, and I will see you later. Bye.